Welcome to Momo TV. Today we are visiting Shenzhen at night. And what a place to begin. Right now, we're standing inside Gangxia North Station, one of the most dramatic subway stations in all of China. And honestly, one of the most visually striking underground spaces anywhere in the world. As you look up, the first thing that grabs your attention is that ceiling. People call it the eyes of Shenzhen, and you immediately understand why. Above us, layers upon layers of curved steel ribs intersect and spread outward like a living structure, part cathedral, part spacecraft, part futuristic organism. The center opens into a giant oval eye, glowing softly, as if the city itself is watching, breathing, and thinking beneath the surface. There's a strong sci-fi feeling here, almost like we've stepped into the belly of a space station or a shuttle hangar moments before launch. But here's the magic of Gangxia North. This isn't a museum. This isn't a landmark you visit once. This is daily life. Now, look down. Beneath this monumental architecture, you see waves of people, thousands of commuters flowing through tunnels, escalators, platforms, and corridors. Office workers with backpacks, delivery drivers checking phones, families moving quickly, travelers dragging suitcases, students half asleep after a long day. The crowd never really stops. It pulses. And that contrast is what makes this place so uniquely Shenzhen. On one hand, the design feels almost unreal. Ambitious, futuristic, borderline extravagant for a subway station. On the other hand, the human scale is intense and practical. Everyone here has somewhere to go. Shenzhen doesn't slow down just because the ceiling is beautiful. Gangxia North sits right at the heart of Futian, Shenzhen's central business district. Multiple subway lines intersect here, which means this station acts like a circulatory node for the entire city. Morning, noon, night. It's always alive. In many ways, this is Shenzhen distilled into one underground space: efficiency, density, ambition, and speed. What's fascinating is how new all of this feels. Shenzhen, as a city, is barely a few decades old in its modern form. And you can feel that youthfulness here. There's no attempt to imitate old Europe, ancient China, or historical nostalgia. Instead, the design language is forward-looking. Engineering first, symbolism second. The eyes of Shenzhen don't look backward in time, they look outward toward the future. As we stand here at night, the lighting plays a huge role. Cool white LEDs trace the curves above, reflecting off polished surfaces and glass railings. The station feels clean, controlled, and hyper-modern. Even the soundscape, footsteps, announcements, the distant rush of trains feels precise, almost mechanical. And yet, despite all this scale and technology, the space never feels empty. If anything, it feels too full. This is Shenzhen's defining paradox. A city built at futuristic scale, constantly filled to the brim with people chasing opportunity, schedules, deadlines, and dreams. You might notice people stopping along the edges, leaning over railings, holding up phones, taking photos. Even locals still pause sometimes. The architecture demands a moment of attention. It reminds you that infrastructure here isn't just about function, it's also about statement. Shenzhen wants you to feel that this is a city going somewhere fast. Standing here, you're not just inside a subway station. You're inside a metaphor. The eye above, watching. The crowds below, moving. The city in between, accelerating. As we continue our night tour, Gangxia North sets the tone perfectly. Bold, overwhelming, futuristic, crowded, and unmistakably Shenzhen. All right, let's keep moving. Now we've arrived at 1 Avenue, Zhuoyue Zhongxin, one of Shenzhen's most vibrant shopping and dining districts, and a perfect place to experience how this city lives after dark. As we step into the area, the atmosphere immediately changes. The space opens up. The lighting becomes warmer. Glass facades, outdoor terraces, and wide pedestrian walkways replace the underground rush. Here, Shenzhen slows down, at least a little. Around us are cafes, international restaurants, trendy dessert shops, boutique stores, and flagship brands. You hear a mix of languages, Mandarin, Cantonese, English, along with music spilling out from storefronts and the hum of conversation. Office workers unwind after long days, couples stroll with drinks in hand, friends gather around outdoor tables, and families linger longer than they planned. This is Shenzhen's modern urban lifestyle on display. 1 Avenue sits right in the heart of Futian, surrounded by office towers, financial institutions, and tech companies. During the day, this area is all about productivity and efficiency. But at night, places like this become social living rooms for the city, where people eat, relax, and briefly escape the pace that defines their workdays. What makes 1 Avenue especially interesting is how intentional it feels. This isn't an old street that slowly evolved over centuries. It's a carefully planned urban district, designed to be walkable, photogenic, and commercially dense. The architecture mixes clean modern lines with open-air spaces, creating a sense of comfort without losing that distinctly new city energy. And that brings us to the bigger story. Because Shenzhen itself is a city built almost entirely on intention. Just a few decades ago, Shenzhen was not a global metropolis. It wasn't even really a city. It was a collection of fishing villages and farmland sitting quietly next to Hong Kong. In 1980, everything changed when it was designated as China's first special economic zone. From that moment on, Shenzhen became an experiment in openness, an experiment in speed, an experiment in what happens when a city prioritizes growth, manufacturing, technology, and global connection, all at once. What followed was one of the fastest urban transformations in human history. Villages turned into factory towns. Factory towns turned into industrial hubs. Industrial hubs turned into tech ecosystems. And now, districts like One Avenue exist not just to serve survival or production, but quality of life. That evolution is important. Early Shenzhen was about opportunity. Any job, any factory, any chance to stay. Today's Shenzhen is increasingly about how people live, where they eat, how they socialize, how they express identity, and how they find small moments of enjoyment in a high-pressure city. Standing here, you can feel that transition. The people you see dining here are often the children, or even grandchildren, of those first migrants who arrived with nothing but a suitcase. Shenzhen has grown up alongside them. What was once purely functional is now cultural, commercial, and lifestyle-oriented. And yet, the city hasn't lost its edge. Even in a relaxed place like One Avenue, you sense ambition in the background. The towers loom nearby. Time still feels valuable. Conversations are animated, but purposeful. Shenzhen never fully switches off. It just changes gears. This contrast is what makes the city fascinating. From the underground eyes of Shenzhen, watching endless commuters flow through a machine-like space, to this open-air district where people pause, eat, laugh, and recharge. Thanks for touring with us. See you in our next episode.